Dan Allen, a mild-mannered businessman, went to work Monday morning, satchel in hand just like many Mondays before. Now Dan is a middle-aged man, about 45, a little gray on the sides amongst the brown, receding hairline. Not a tall man, but not a small man either. I'd say about 5'10", a little overhang around the middle, a mature gentleman. He enters the office about 8:45 a.m. for his 9 a.m. shift. Just pours a cup of coffee to get going, sits down at his desk, and the phone rings. Yes. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be right up. Dan forgets about his coffee and heads up to the executive office. Now, Jim Miller is the executive type. Bald, trim and fit, about 35 years of age, 6'2", thinks he's God's gift, if you know what I mean. Dan is on the elevator, rising to the executive floor, starting from the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. His heart is pounding with each passing floor. 6th, the 7th. Now he's starting to perspire a bit. Takes his kerchief out of his pocket to dab his forehead. The 8th, the 9th. It's getting harder to breathe. With his tie, he pulls on it to get more air down his throat. The 10th, the 11th, the 12th. Whew. Now off the elevator. And now the long walk down the east corridor, heading from east to west. It must be 2 football fields long. 200 yards. Or it sure seems to be. Now with every step, it feels like an elephant is on his chest. But he finds a way to continue on. And when he finally gets to the office, this is the first person he sees. Charlotte is the first person he sees after leaving the elevator in the corridor. She's 29. Nothing out of place. Red hair, an outfit that shows off her figure of, 38, 28, 38. She's 5'10". But too much makeup. That bright lipstick. More like the exec's trophy than any real work. Files her nails, hits the desk speaker to let the boss know that he's arrived. You can go in. Dan walks in. Heart is beginning to pound out of his chest at this moment. The office is a big rotunda. And after you enter the room, it's another 50 yards to the desk. Mr. Miller is sitting behind it, waiting. Wow, Dan thinks it's such a long walk, but it takes every ounce of will to make the trip from the door to the desk. Heart pounding harder and harder. All the way he feels like he's going to pass out. And then thankfully he arrives. Yes, sir, Mr. Miller. Dan, you've been with us for quite a while. And you've done some good work for us. Made us some money over the years. Always on time. And always here. But after further review, we are over budget this next year's financial view. We're going to have to cut personnel to stay under budget. Well, being that you are more mature than the others, we have decided, all of us here on the board, that you are going to be the one. We feel that your best years are behind you and that it's time to cut ties. So your services are no longer needed starting this morning. That's all. Dan stood there dumbfounded. After 20 years just to be let go, put out like the garbage. I said, that's all, Dan. You may go. Dan was fired up now. You know, I've not only showed up every day on time, I've given you my best. Evenings, weekends, even funded my own business dinners to get a deal closed. My wife's gone, my children don't talk to me because I've been married to the job. Now after that, you throw me out like a piece of garbage? A piece of spoiled meat? Dan released a colorful metaphor, if you will. Get me security! Miller released the intercom button. Don't bother! Another colorful metaphor flew from his lips. I'm gone. Dan left the office. The distance didn't seem so long now. He shoved open the door, security waiting there. They followed him all the way back. They made sure that he was going to get there. They followed him to the elevator. Even opened up the door for him. And escorted him in. Made sure he was going straight to his office and nowhere else. Then after he got back to his office, they watched him pack up his personal belongings into a box. A box that someone had set on his desk. He marched out of the office, security in tow, to the elevator, down to the ground floor, and out the door of the building. As he walked out of the building, the security stood by the door as he walked to his car. He put his box in the trunk of his Mercedes MLK and left. Now, he was proud of his car. Dan was so irritated, he figured he'd rev the engine a few times, just to show how powerful the car was. Something men go through when we're mad, I'm sure. Rev it up. Rev it up, Dan. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Stopped off at his favorite coffee shop to get his favorite latte, then went home. His home is an empty house in the subs. No need to explain the home. No matter how extravagant it looks when it's empty, it's not a home, just a house to stay and keep your stuff. Stuff that is seeming to be meaningless now. And all of these years, he worked for the firm acquiring that stuff. Dan called every booking firm he knew to see if they were in the market for an agent, even ones willing to work on commission. No deal. He personally traveled each one he knew of out of the area to see if they were to see him in person. I'm sorry, Dan. I just can't use another agent right now. Times are tough all over. It was the same everywhere he went. Dan had even tried freelancing as a personal broker. But everyone he talked to wasn't willing to take a chance with an independent financial broker. So in the meantime, to make ends meet, he started pawning off items of his things to make ends meet with the bills. But the items didn't bring in as much capital as he had spent on them over time. Even things he had bought as collector's items, he thought would be the silver lining in old life someday. The museum even chewing him down in price because they wanted the paintings and knew he needed the cash, no matter how small. After all the items he was willing to separate from were gone, then the ones he was planning on keeping had to go as well. Then when the house was bare, except for a fold-up chair in the corner to sit on, he thought to himself, what do I need a house for? So he sold that too, for bottom dollar. Now just his clothes, a few belongings, and his car. He was still trying to find a job amongst the firms, but it was the same old story. We're not hiring. We want someone younger. Someone even said we are looking for someone with more experience. Now that made him laugh. But when he heard this one, no, I'm sorry. We like our agents to have a home to settle down in. We don't hire someone who's homeless. Dan hit that man. It kept hitting him. He was arrested, then drew money out of his 401 to put up his bail money with the promise to appear before the court. When he got to where his car should have been, it was gone. He thought, well, maybe it had been impounded. But the police department said, no, I'm sorry, sir. No car of make, a model, or license has been impounded. Well, then I'd like to report it stolen. And when did this happen, sir? When I was in your custody. Okay, sir, give me a description. I'll put it on a report. Dan described it and hung up the phone. He had a look of loss now. No job, no car, no home. Just the clothes on his back and his wallet, watch, and comb, and walked into a local liquor store to buy a soda. As he stood there in the liquor store looking through the glass, a thought came over. He began to wonder, and then realized, I don't want a soda. So then he grabbed a bottle of Crown Royal and a glass, paid for them, and left, and went to a park. As he sat down on the bench, he cracked that bottle open, poured it, and then drank. Hell, I should have filled the glass with ice first at the soda fountain. He went back. Hey, can I get some ice? No. The ice is for customers who buy a fountain drink. But I just bought a $20 bottle of booze from you, and you can't let me have a little ice? Get out of here, you drunk, before I call the cops. Dan just got out of jail. The last thing he wanted to see were the police. So he left, went back to his bench, and finished off the bottle. Oh, that was smooth. He lied down there and fell asleep. And he was also surprised that no one bothered him when he woke up at about 4:30 a.m. the next morning. But something was wrong. He looked at his wrist to see what time it was, but couldn't see the time. He grabbed his eyes. Wow, am I still drunk, he thought? Then he saw his watch, that there was no watch. The watch that his dad gave him was gone. Someone had taken it while he slept. Oh well, I guess someone needed it more than I did. He decided to get some breakfast, so he headed to a diner, had a cup of coffee, 2 eggs, sausage, hash browns, and pancakes. You can take care of that whenever you are ready. Oh, thank you. Would you like a refill? Please. In the meantime, he grabbed for his wallet to pay, and panic set in. Oh no. Where is my wallet? He searched his jacket pocket, his pants, every pocket. Even checked the inside pocket to see if it had a hole inside. And the wallet might be in the lining of his coat. No dice. And no money to pay for his meal. What am I going to do, he thought. He finished his coffee. Excuse me, where is your restroom? Oh, sir, it's right back here, but would you like to take care of that first? Oh, I'm sorry, I've got to go. I'll take care of it when I'm finished. Okay, then. He entered the restroom, washed his face. He had never done a dine and dash before, and thought very little of the people he had seen do it over time. He took off his coat with pounding heart, had his hand on the door, and let's go. He left the room. Walked past his table. There was a line of people who were waiting to be seated, so he mingled past them, and just as he got to the door, excuse me, sir, your bill. Dan ran as fast as he could and continued running. He had already been in trouble with the law in this city, and he wasn't looking for more, so he kept running. And then a freight train, in view. He kept running towards it. Oh my, an open boxcar. He thought perfect, just like in the movies. He kept running and made it to the slow-moving train, climbed up into the car, and huddled down in the dark corner. But then, a smell, an odor that he had only smelled one other time. Did you have to come into my corner? The voice asked in the dark. When Dan's eyes began to adjust to the light, he could see mostly the man's teeth in the dark when he spoke. Well, the foul-smelling gentleman said, Cat got your tongue? I'm sorry, I'll find another corner. You do that, and be quiet about it before you get us caught and thrown off. Dan moved quietly to the opposite side of the car. The smell was a little less now. but he could still smell it a little. He began to think to himself, where have I come to in a few short months? I was on top of the world, in need of nothing. Then the bottom falls out. But in hindsight, it wasn't just the loss of his job. It was the bridges he had burned in getting there. His wife, where was she all this time? Probably living out her life the way she had always wanted, with someone who was willing to be there, instead of chasing the almighty dollar. And what of his girls and son? Would they take in Pop if he come knocking on the door? No, probably not, he whispered, and he found himself asleep. Then he had been wakened abruptly. Come on, we gotta go. Train stopped to the railroad police, checking each car. Okay. Dan jumped up, grabbed his coat, and took off. The two got off the train and ran over a grassy knoll to hide. Where are we? Don't know, but I'm sure not where we were, the foul man laughed. Where are you headed? I don't know, just away from where I was. Well, if you're going to travel the road, Sonny, I suggest you get some more durable clothes. Get rid of that business coat and get yourself a big overcoat where you can find one to keep out the cold and deep pockets for alky. And some jeans instead of the slacks that you're wearing. And some boots instead of your Oxford leather uppers. No use for clothing like that out here. And you need to learn how to sleep light on the trains. You need to know when they're stopped and when to get off and get on. And be careful of railroad police. They'd just as soon make us fall off and get killed than turn us in. Can't stand the smell. One even uses his nightstick on a chain to see if any are hiding under the cars while the train is moving. Have to be careful of him. Well, so long and good luck to you, Sonny. And oh yeah, you'll not notice the smell after you've been in it for a while. So long. Dan had pondered the things the old man had shared. He was wanted for not appearing in court, for the dine and dash. No ID. He's nobody. Over time, Dan had acquired these replacements, including one more thing. A dirty brown floppy hat to keep the sun and the rain off of his head. He traveled from place to place, stayed in hobo camps throughout the land. He would even do his share of begging. Excuse me, sir, but could you help out an old man with a little spare change? Sometimes it was, sure, no problem. Or other times it was, get a job. Or it was, nope, don't have it. We work for a living. But each time Dan would reply, well, thanks anyways. Dan never came across that railroad cop that the old man had told him about. And the ones he did come across over time just simply said, time to get off, old-timer. He walked with few possessions that he had acquired over time. Nothing more than he could carry in his pockets or on his person. He had even found an old guitar and learned how to bang out a few tunes for change. But as he walked along, he would walk with tears in his eyes. For in his travels, he'd see old couples and he would dream of the life that could have been if he hadn't been so blind. For which hindsight is 20/20. But this is the life of Hobo Dan. A man traveling on train to train, town to town, and seeing things he would have never seen before. Oh, and one more thing before we go. Old Dan, he doesn't smell the smell anymore.